Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach and welcome to, what I'm probably going to call a SuperCoach Ramble, I guess. We're back in the old podcast format for today. For those of you who probably have listened to my channel for a long time, you'd recall the days when Shorty SuperCoach was pure podcast. It was, my mug was not on the camera, just some anonymous fool talking about SuperCoach. But I have enjoyed doing the video stuff, but I must admit I do miss the podcast element, just the more laid back vibe, and just sort of it's certainly less preparation. I mean, I can just do it whatever, don't have to do me hair. Some would argue I probably don't anyway, but nonetheless, I thought I'd revert to a bit of podcast stuff. A, because I enjoy that, and also B, I've got this new microphone I really wanted to utilise, so hopefully the audio is coming through. It should be coming through as good as it's ever been on this channel, so fingers crossed. And the point of the video, I so often just jump onto my SuperCoach side daily. Daily, I jump on, I have a look, tinker, search through players, think about different things. It's not groundbreaking enough to do an individual video, but I know as a SuperCoach lover, sometimes I just want to put on 30 minutes of just SuperCoach discussion. I can just listen to it. It's not a visual element, and it's not super hard hitting either. Like, I can miss 5 or 10 minutes. I don't have to be listening super hard. Like, I know when I'm just in the kitchen trying to do me darndest to cook something half decent. I love to just chuck something on that it's not breaking news, it's not too hard hitting, but you can just have it on and it's good sort of background noise and take a few points out of it. So I'm sort of hoping that's what this can be. So I've got no idea how long it's going to go for. I'm not really sure where it's going to go. I'm literally just going to jump onto my side in a minute, have a little tinker, have a little look around. I haven't looked at it for a couple of days, which is unusual for me. Normally, I so often just jump on and just have a look. Like, it's probably sad, but I feel weird and I don't like it if I click out of that SuperCoach window and I'm just not stoked with my side. We've got like 40 days to go, it doesn't really matter, but I just like to put my head on the pillow at the end of the day and feel like we're under control. But anyway, we're going to do that. Just get myself a little water, but otherwise, like I said, I'll be taking a look at my side. I did a team reveal on Saturday, so if you want to take a look at my side and a bit of visual element about it, feel free to get over there. Table tennis video, me and a few mates playing, it's a bit of fun, something a little bit different. SuperCoach Talk, I'm doing a fair bit of stuff with them, so if you haven't checked out their site already, feel free to have a look over there too. Club by club previews, jeez. Maybe that was vodka, not water. Club by club previews out and about. I think I'm up to North Melbourne. There's a playlist for those, so if you're just taking a long drive, chuck the playlist on, get up to date. But that's a bit of housekeeping out of the way. I wanted to give those things a bit of a plug. Let's get stuck into it. So, just jumping on my side here. And what are we? We are Friday. Just got the afternoon off, so I thought I've sort of changed. I'm not working full time at the moment. It's a long sort of story. I'm actually currently delivering groceries in the Coles van. So if you see Shorty around Colac, Winchelsea, Geelong area, Anglesea sort of thing, if you see the Coles van floating around, see if it's Shorty in there. It's a bit of a change up. I'm probably going to study, I'd say, probably next year. Head back to the old study, but yeah, it's a long story, but nonetheless, I've got a little bit more time on my hands because this is just a casual gig at the moment. But I'm pretty happy with the side at the moment. If there's one thing, like, it's so hard to tell you. There's a few guys that I just need to see a bit from in terms of like defining their role, and there's some guys like premiums you can just you can pick with confidence, but there's blokes like, what do we got? Miller, I got to see a bit from him. Tommy Green, how much midfield time is he going to get? Hayden Young, I'm really about Hayden Young. I really am. I think he could be a star. I know he's young, but 280, not too bad. Jordan Clark, He's in my side. Being a Cats man, I'm a massive fan. I reckon 240k for him. He's such a creative player, run and gun sort of type. Really like the look of him. And I'm actually loving my midfield. Probably a couple of weeks back in the midfield, I was like, it's probably not enough, if you know what I mean. Like, there's not enough premiums in there. But now I've got Neil, I've got Oliver, I've got Cripps, and just the other day, I might have had Will Brodie in there. That was kind of random for a while, but likely type, but really just sort of selecting a bloke on a hunch. So I think I found some coin somewhere and upgraded him to Josh Kelly. And gosh, I'm all about Josh Kelly. Jeez, sometimes if I've just got a chill night at home, I'll just jump onto YouTube and there goes something off my desk, and I'll just start watching blokes' highlights. I don't know if you ever do that, but maybe I've got too much time on my hands now. But I tell you what, Josh Kelly I don't think you'll hear the audio through this, but geez, he's a bloody smooth mover. I feel as if like we haven't seen the best from him, but his numbers are like insane. Like, Jesus, that's a nice goal. He's got some finishing skills on that left, I tell you. Yeah, I don't know. Let me bring up his stats. Because I feel as if, like, I don't know about you, but I feel like, we talk about him like the Rolls Royce, but he maybe hasn't hit his absolute peak. But he's averaged from 2017, 114, 113, 117, 114. Like, that rivals the best of them. Like, okay, he's missed a few games in there, so it hasn't always been full seasons, but yeah, it's I might have a look at his finals record. I just wonder. It's always, I like to see how they go in the finals. It just sort of gives a bit of representation of how they sort of go in the big games. On their way to the grand final, 100, 100, 100. No one played good in the granny, so he played good there. Elimination final. He must have got injured, did he? 2018 against the Swans. Let's have a look. Yeah, 20% game time. So he obviously got injured there. 2017, 113, 101, 113. Yeah, so they're just SuperCoach numbers. You can't exactly tell whether they're best on or not. But he probably hasn't torn a final to shreds. But he's only played one bad one. Where are we? 2016. They didn't play finals then, did they? Oh fuck, they did. Jesus. Qualifier, prelim, 86 and 86, but he had 24 and 29. Yeah, so interesting. I feel as if he's just got another gear to go. Like, I sometimes like, it's all well and good to pick premiums and be like, they can score average 100 easily, but I love the fact you see a bloke in the sort of, he's averaging 112, whatever, but there's still a bit of scope. Like, if they have their best season ever for their career, they could score 120. And that's what I felt like with Oliver last year, and that's what he delivered. And it's what I feel like with Josh Kelly this year. So it's really interesting. And Lachie Neale, look, honestly, confession, I didn't start with him. I only brought him in a couple of weeks ago. I just thought, Jesus, he's so expensive. It's so top end, blah, blah, blah. But, I talked to a couple of my mates and they said, mate, you just got to have him. Back in, when did he join the Lions? 2019. Because I remember, I reckon he was in like 8 or 9% of sides in his first year. He wasn't hitting a bit. He averaged 111.9 in 2018. And then I remember I got on him in 2019. And he was another example. He lifted it up to 121. So these are guys, let's go into the midfield for a bit. Let's see if I can find some examples. So, Jack Steele, 122. Great player, but I don't think he's got any scope. He's only done it 1 year. Oliver, I love. McRae worries me. There's so many dogs midfielders. Can he get pushed out to a wing? I don't want to pay top dollar for him. Christian Petrarca's only done it once. Bonson Pally. I'm just steering clear of dogs midfielders. There's so much up in the air. There's so many guns in there. I'm steering clear. Zach Merritt, top end. Career best average. Could that be his best season ever? Will it, Will we look back on his career and say, gee, that was just his best year? Don't want to pay $620. Lockie Hunter. Then we got Kelly, who I'm all about. Dangerfield, injury worries. Mitchell, injury worries. Fife concerns me with just that want to play him forward. Jared Lyons, I just don't think he's just a solid contributor, but he could average anywhere from 100 to 112. Matt Crouch, give me a spell. He needs 35 touches just to hurt you just a little bit. Scotty Pendlebury does it time and time again, but I think the days of picking pendles are over. Boak, I feel like, had his career best season. I don't want to invest in him. Taylor Adams, I really love him. I would consider him. Side bottom, I'm in the forward line. Treloar, you're another doggies. Menegola, nah, you wouldn't pick him. Rockcliffe, give me a spell. Lukey Parker, surely he's close to the retirement home. Andrew Gaff, no, I just think he's too outside. He's too taggable. History suggests he doesn't have much more than 108 average in him. Libba, couldn't hate the bloke more. Just can't stand. I'm about to drop the F-bomb there, but he absolutely screwed my SuperCoach draft. Anyway, I didn't want to revisit that today. And then we're starting to get deep now. Tuke Miller, Greenwood, Laird, blah blah blah. So these are examples of course I could pick Steele and I could pick McRae. I'm sure I could pick Petrarca. Yeah, they're all going to average over 100, but do they have a little bit of scope? Am I paying absolute top dollar? And sort of just on that, if we're sticking with sort of a midfield flavour, Jai Simpkin, it's no news if you've been watching my channel for at least this season that I am a huge Simpkin fan. I mentioned him last year that I think he's a very talented player. Showed some signs. I think he averaged like 93 last year. And had some big scores, but had some low scores as well. Had some really low ones, which hurt. But he's in my side at the moment. He's sitting in at M5, and I just really think that I definitely think he'll push it past 100. And look, if he averages about 105, I'll accept that. But I reckon his top end is supreme. I mean, he must be nearing his prime. When I talk about prime, like entering that window, I'm sort of looking for a guy who's like at least 22, at least got like at least 60 games under their belt. Well, he'll turn 23 by start of season, pretty much, and he's got 73 games under his belt. So he's in that window where almost any year from now could be that year where we say, yeah, he's arrived. Some guys do it at 24, some guys do it at 21, but when they're in that window, they're on the map to potentially do it at any stage. So I'm a big fan of him. I'll tell you what, if you want to, Jai Simpkin, type him into YouTube. What was that video? Jai Simpkin highlights. Yeah, I watched that recently. It's like a half-hour video. Gave me an absolute whap. Where is it? You'd think it'd be easy to find, wouldn't it? There it is. Jai Simpkin, the early years. Someone obviously has a similar man crush on him because on December 31, they posted this video. Stuff celebrating New Year. I'm going to piece together half an hour of Jai Simpkin highlights. Oh, wow. Gee, I don't think I would have been capable of producing any sort of highlights on New Year's. Tell you what, I was in some sort of a state. I forgot he wore 21, did he, back in the day? It's interesting. But yeah, if you just, of course they're highlights, so of course he looks good in the highlights vid, but I'll tell you what, there's highlights and there's highlights. This bloke has a sidestep that I see in my dreams. He's silky smooth and got a head of hair that I'd probably just die for, but yeah, maybe I need to seek some help on the man crush. But look, he could be in the category of I love Paddy Cripps, I love Oliver, love Dangerfield, love Heaney. If he delivers this year for me, he could be in that category of Caleb Daniel. He's another one of my absolute faves. He's in my side. So yeah, do yourself a favour. Check out what he's got, because there's highlights vids and then there's highlight vids, Just the little things that he can do. We just have seen glimpses, and last year we saw a lot more, and he actually didn't use the ball that well last year, which from what I can read, in his junior days, he wasn't a bad kick or anything. So I feel as if that's just something, maybe tweak it up, and we've seen that before too. Like, I remember Fife when he was a youngster. I remember SuperCoach people saying, "Nah, you can't pick Fife. He just turns the ball over, blah, blah, blah." Then he's one of the most selected players for the next 7 years. Same thing was with Oliver. We used to talk about, "Nah, you can't pick Clary. He's one of the worst kicks in the game." Don't underrate the ability of star players to just fix up little things like that. And I wouldn't be surprised if Simpkin does it. I think he averaged about 5 clangers. I think it's about his top about 6 in the league for that sort of stat, which isn't really the stat you want to be on the leaderboard for. But he's got some great awareness in traffic. Oh, gee, that was good. I'm watching the video now. He's got the handball off, and I think he gets it back here. Jimon. Oh yeah, he gets it. Fucking snap, bang. That is juicy. Yeah. No, that gives me a whap. But so I think he's got some real talent. Rising star. My ruck department is Grundy and Bruce. Pretty stock standard. I think if you commit to not going with Gordon Grundy, you just go with one, then I think Bruce is probably your guy. I mean, Steph Martin might provoke a bit of interest, perhaps. But yeah, there's nothing too much to talk about. I wanted to have, if there's one part of my side I'm just not comfortable with in full, it's this forward line. Now, I think Dusty's just a lock. Like, I know he can sort of pick and choose when he plays these absolute brilliant games, which is probably why we don't see those seasonal averages like the very best. But I think he's a forward must-have, in my opinion. I've gone with side bottom, mainly because of the fact I think you got to start one at Dangerfield or side bottom, I feel, because they're going to be top forwards. You're going to need them at some stage. And Dangerfield, just with his injuries at the minute, just concerns me. There's always talk about him playing forward, but just worries me. So at the moment, I've got side bottom, Martin, and I've got Heaney. Now, Heaney as well is like racing the clock. Let's have nothing better than typing in a player's name, Google, straight over to news. What is trending? 4 days ago, already read that article, but for the sake of this video, remains confident of lining up in the Swans round 1 clash as he continues a slow but steady recovery from his shattering ankle injury last season. That concerns me that it's still that injury, and it's pretty serious too. So the Swan is running and training on the sidelines and is hopeful of getting back with the main group immediately. Wait, what was that? Yeah, imminently even. I think he says something about a practice game. Yeah, I think it looks as if they're aiming for that. What is it, the bloody Amy series or some shit? Like, how many different names could that thing have? Here's an idea. Let's go right off topic. Shorty's way to fix the preseason comp. Practice games, whether it's 2 or 1, no one gives a stuff. They're the most pointless, glorified pracky games, and people don't care. All right, it's great that it gets out to the regional areas, whatever. You can still do that with these other games. Shorty's plan. All right, they used to have the, Wizard Cup or all those sorts of things, and it actually meant something to a bit of the comp. Yeah, it didn't mean much to finalists and whatnot, but if you were a club down the bottom, it meant something. I know when the Cats won that preseason flag, that was huge. So I still think people like to have a competition. What would I do? I would have it knockout. I think knockout intrigues people. I'd have 16 clubs in this tournament, and you're probably saying, Shorty, there's 18 clubs in this competition. Some clubs just aren't going to care about it. Some clubs might not want to compete. So you work your way down from the Premier and you say, do you want to compete? And I would imagine, and this is probably where we'd maybe see, but I'm sure some of the top 4, particularly grand finalists, may opt to not, because they've had a shorter preseason. Maybe they don't want to. Maybe it doesn't mean as much to them. Or you just say, you make it a blanket rule and grand finalists don't play in it. I've got no idea. Work it out. And then you'd have 16 clubs, just have some sort of lottery where we just put the balls into a thingo, spin them around, find your opponents, and then you just go down like tennis tournament style, 16, down to 8, down to 4, boom, grand final, get a premier. I think it'd be interesting. I think anytime any match is a knockout game, I think it really is interesting. The first week could be a bit, take it or leave it, but I think there'd be clubs that really want to win this thing, and yeah, we're getting off topic, but I seriously think that's the way to go. Create some actual interest about the competition, rather than just these gimmick games. Hang on, let me just check my phone. I'm working casual, and I'm sort of half like, not treading water, but you just never know if you're going to get called in sometimes. And because it's early on, like, I want to sort of take those. I don't want to sort of be like, no, I'm just doing a SuperCoach vid, guys. Probably not going to make it. So, it doesn't look as if anyone's text. Give me a second. Yeah, so I think Isaac Heaney. Look, if there's any murmur of him playing forward, he's out. If there's any murmur of him being slow or touch and go to round 1, he's out. Which you could argue there already is, but I'm going to give it time. So let's have a little bit of a look. Like we did with the midfield, let's work our way down. Danger and Sidebottom, already talked about them. You can't start Hawkins. Just can't. Dunkley, same rule. If he went to the Bombers, would have been one of my first pick players. Not now. Marshall, why? Why can I just not get on board with this fully? He's been in my side, he's been out of my side. 48% of sides. But I don't know. There's something about the selection of a guy that could spend a half of football, 3/4 of football as a key forward. I don't know. If he's a ruckman, he's an absolute lock. 100% lock. There's just something that concerns me a touch. And you probably say, Shorty, he's always going to get his 10 to 15 hit outs, sometimes 20. And he's always a good chance for a goal when he's in the forward line. St Kilda's an improving team. They're all very good points. And I ain't ruling him out. He may well start on my side. If I was to drop Heaney, look, Marshall would be the guy. But there's just something that those selections, the ownership of 48% suggests a guy that's an out-and-out lock. I don't see him as just this absolute lock. He gives you flexibility with the ruck forward, whatever, but yeah, there's just something. Just when you look at a player and you just go, I want to, but there's just something there. Anyway, talked about Martin. Walters, I could put him in the same category of 5. They're really keen to ply them in the forward line at times because they are so good there. It just worries me. Zorko, 8% of sides. Not in a million years, people. 525k for a bloke he's just about cooked, mate. He'll still play some good footy, but Brisbane are bringing through a new brigade of midfielders. They got your McCluggages, they got your Berries, they got Rayner, they've got Bailey playing through the middle at times. This bloke is yesterday's hero. I can't believe he's in 8% of sides. Dixon, you couldn't. Robbie Gray, you just couldn't. Zach Butters, look, you'd be brave. Shea Bolton, I can see the point, but if he was in any other team, you probably would. But Richmond are just such an even side. It's just so hard for anyone to really be just like this standout. But I definitely see his average going into the 90s. How far and how deep in the 90s that's the question. Peter Laddams gave me nightmares last year. Was so good, and then got suspended for some reason, didn't he? I feel like it was COVID breach. Just did me over. God, Pete, you screwed me. There's my mate Heaney and Chatty Wigengard. Oh, you'd be brave, wouldn't you? You would be a brave soul to go with Chad. Now, Toby Green in 4% of sides. Not so sure about that. Let me just scroll through. We're starting to get to sort of a bit dull. Jordan DeGoey. Gee, I seriously think he could play midfield and like a reasonable amount of midfield. But it's just dancing with your sister awkward at that sort of price, and just he's got a few other things floating about too. I think if I was let's say, all right, hypothetically, plan B, if Heaney isn't in, what would that leave me with? Because I don't think I've got too much in the bank. It leaves me 460 to play with, and I really don't see anyone else I want to cut. Like, there's no one else, like, certainly at the moment. Like, sure, in time there might be, and there's not really anyone else I just want to absolutely scream at and select. Yeah, anyway, let's have a look through, which I kind of was anyway, but I didn't know how much coin. Yeah, so basically Laddams is the... Yeah, I've literally got nothing. I must have like 5 or so grand in the kitty there. I don't think no one takes my fancy as a premium. That's a fact. So basically it's like, if it's not Heaney, I want it to be Marshall, and I need to produce like a hell of a lot more coin. How much? Yeah, I need like another 100k. So that, in essence, like, that's probably a downgrading of a Tom Green, downgrading of a Wayne Miller, which can be done, but I just like them there at the moment. Like, I like having that. If I look through, gee, it's slim. I'm not really about Tommy Phillips. I just think Hawthorn are going to struggle so much, and his very best average is 90. You know, that's his best. Can he get back to it? Don't know. I just see like an average of mid to high 80s. Don't know. Connor Rosie, there's a guy that just gets me excited. But again, could be anything. And I was talking about Simpkin before being like in that window. He must, what is he? He'd be like, what, 21, something like that. Yeah, he's 21, 38 games. And that, what was it, round 1 last year, was it? Just exploded. It was huge. Yeah, had like 125. No, it was round 2. That was the big one. 8 clearances from 17 touches, 6 tackles, 145 Supercoach. Tell you what's an interesting little tool. I've just said it in my favourites, but centre bounce attendances, Dream Team Talk posted it. It's real. I reckon it's really interesting just to see, and it's a great little breakdown. Let me give you an example. So I'm sort of looking at Rosie, like, okay, because I think the best indication of if a guy's playing midfield is not necessarily how many clearances he gets or how many touches he gets, but where did he start? How many centre bounces? How many times did the coach say, you are in our top 3 mids to be in this centre bounce stoppage? So let's have a look. Connor Rosie, round 1, 33% of centre bounces attended. Round 2, 35% centre bounces. 15%. Round 4 was 55%. What did he score? He scored 53. So that's a really interesting example. Like, he got ample opportunity to win clearances and he got 1. But then he really doesn't feature. 29, then none, 18, none, 24. Then he missed a bit of footy, 15, 5, 11 and 20 to end the season. So that just sort of reeks of a guy who was then moved to more of a forward position. I just wonder... So yeah, if you want to look at that, just type in DT Talk, centre bounce, attendance. I'm sure it'll pop up somewhere. But I just wonder, can the inclusion of Fantasia, probably he's the main guy. But I feel as if they want Rosie in the middle. It's just a matter of how much, like what sort of a balance will they sort of provide. Can I see anything here? Connor Rosie, midfield. AFL Supercoach 2021, best premiums, value picks. Let's have a look. Nothing like a little Control F to save you a bit of time. What the hell's he talking about here? And the Power only want Butters. What do we even... Oh, he's under Next Gen. Phantom. Talking about Butters. And the Power only want Butters and fellow young star Connor Rosie to spend more time in the midfield going forward, especially... Yeah, well, he mentions Fantasia there. The Phantom's verdict would be a big call to start at the price, but I'm tipping another spike in Butters this year. bigger than Rosie's? Probably not. And I guess Rosie's got a little bit more opportunity to spike, doesn't he? He's at 377 and Butters is at 477. So Butters almost had like that mini breakout. He went up to 87 where Rosie went down. Rosie went from 77 to 70. So he's an insane talent. He really is. I'd throw bloody anyone in the midfield. I always want him to play in there. But I seriously think once he gets unleashed, he'll be something. Players they can reinvent from the Adelaide now. Port Adelaide has already spoken about throwing Butters and Rosie into the midfield more often next season. Just sort of rehashing a bit of that. It's only going to be seen via the practice games, isn't it? Definitely looks as if they're training in the midfield group, but it's one thing to train there and then, we need genuine midfield time, I reckon. Not just like a little bit more. We need quite a bit more. Anyway, let's just keep scrolling. Dalhouse, give me a break. Don't even want him in the team. You wouldn't consider him. Radagalia. Shout out to Langers. He'll get that. 3% of people are picking Jaden Stevenson. You can't be serious. You cannot be serious. Jai Caldwell, I need to see a bit more from him. I just don't know much about the guy. Really don't. There's Will Brodie. Lots of talent. But the Suns have really kicked on a lot. So I just wonder whether he's like even in the frame or whatnot. But we'll sort of watch that one. And now we're sort of getting to like early 300s. So you're just sort of talking real sort of mid-price. And I don't think I want to just have two premiums in the forward line. I like the Zeeble pick, but I just don't know if I love it at F4. But, I mean, it's a starting team. I mean, I guess you're going to be exposed somewhere, aren't you? Like, I look at my back line and it's, I don't think there's much exposure at all. You've only got one rookie on the field. You've got Millery, you've got Hayden Young. I look at my midfield. I've got Jordan Clark at M7. And some people would probably say, look, Shorty, you need to drop like Clark or Young. Just have one of them. Find 100k there, bring Marshall in. Which, when push comes to shove, is probably what I'll do. Or if Tommy Green doesn't look like getting as much mid-time, it might be something I do. But they're all they're questions that I just want to see answered, I suppose. So, for now, and I really want Heaney, I really do, but yeah, if it's not like, look, we want Isaac to play a lot more midfield time, he's fit and firing, he's ready to go, then I'm not sure we can go with him. So I thought he represented value. He was in my must-haves at the start of the year before that injury. I thought he was on top of it, and clearly he's not quite, so we'll just have to monitor that. But look, I reckon that's about all I'm going to do for this video. How long have we been going for? Yeah, best part of 35 minutes. So, pretty random today. Pretty random. Just Shorty sitting at his desk with his mic on a day off. It's Friday. If I didn't mention that already, so I'm gearing up for a few drinks. It should be a good night. Probably more drinks on the Saturday, I'd say, but we'll see how we go. So yeah, let me know what you think about this video, because this is just something I haven't done before. Most of my videos, there's a bit of prep work in them. I'll do a few notes. It's, particularly with video, it's much more of like presentation style thing, but I like the fact that I can just sort of sit here and have my glass of water, check my phone, be on the laptop, just sort of think out loud, and hopefully you guys can find some interest out of it. Maybe you find, a bit of insight as to how another SuperCoach person looks at their side, thinks about their side. And maybe there's a couple of interesting players I mentioned that you might want to think about. So let me know what you think, because I wouldn't mind doing these a little bit more. Certainly wouldn't take much. I'm jumping onto my side most days and thinking about stuff. And all it takes is me plugging this thing in and pressing record. So I'd love to hear what you reckon. So yeah, leave a couple of comments and whatnot. And thanks for your support. Whether you've been on board since the start, since the old podcast days, when it was just me and my phone, or whether you've been jumping on of late and sort of more familiar and a recent subscriber. They're all important, and I really appreciate the support. So thanks again. I'm sure we'll talk soon. Cheers.